Peace be with you everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor, very grateful to have you here, and today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my top 20 picks from my collection for the month of December. So getting into the holiday festive spirit, I'm going to be reaching for things that are spicy, a little bit vanillic, maybe ambery, as well as some boozy and tobacco style fragrances, since the majority of December is still kind of in the autumn technically, and it does not look like we will have a single snowfall during this December, although I think we had a few in October. So strange weather these days, everybody I'm sure is experiencing it. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into the list here, no particular order, but starting off with two of my favorites. This one is Fougère Nobile from Nobile 1942, very earthy barbershop fragrance. There's a really nice tobacco in here that lends itself to a down-to-earth style, approachable, blue-collar, almost barbershop style fragrance. Usually barbershop fragrances are pretty elegant, classy, sophisticated, but this one I think draws it down to earth a little bit with a really nice tobacco, and then it provides a certain fluffiness from a musk in here that reminds me of snowfall, but it keeps into a very dense and almost patchouli-like sweetness in here. Although I don't think there's any patchouli listed. It's tobacco, geranium, vetiver, lavender, and musk, as well as that tobacco. But one of my favorites for the winter overall, this is Fougère Nobile 1942. Okay, next, another one of my favorites, a recent addition to the collection, but a quick ascent to my favorites for the winter overall. This is Chanel Egoiste, the original Eau de Toilette version. This is the black cap, not platinum Egoiste, and this is a really nice sandalwood, rose, and cinnamon. So you get a really nice powdery, soft, spicy quality in here, as well as a really refined, elegant rose that classes it up, a little bit mature, but definitely something that's right in my wheelhouse, and I just love how easy it is to wear. Something that works well in the cold, but also in the office. So that's Chanel Egoiste. Okay, next we've got a wintertime classic, By the Fireplace. Seeks out to emulate the actual chestnuts roasting by an open fire archetype of December and Christmas. This has the chestnut in there, a little bit of a vanillic marshmallow style sweetness, and then a really, really beautiful kick of smoke from Gaiac wood. Absolutely knocked it out of the park with replicating that scene, as is the name replica here. So definitely worth checking this one out, By the Fireplace. I think you can even test these at your local Ulta and Sephora, as it is a designer fragrance. Didn't know that, but found that out after a few years in the community. So replica By the Fireplace, perfect for December. Okay, next up we have Bentley for Men Eau de Toilette. This is not the intense version, although I think either one works fine. Honestly, the intense may be even better for the transitional period between fall and winter. It's got a really amped up smokiness and leather quality in there, but this one I think the booze shines a little bit brighter and comes more to the foreground and less of the very vanilla and booze, whereas the other one is a little bit more smoke, leather, and booze. But the booze is more pronounced in this one, and that's what I really love about this particular version of it. And the boozy accords were something that I really like to reach for in January because it feels like they warm me up a bit, but the more that I have been spending some time with them, I feel like December is more in the spirit of that jovial, festive, let it all hang out vibe, whereas January gets a little bit more sober after the New Year's resolutions. So this is a great one for the month, and well crafted by Natalie Lorson. Okay, next, this is a staple for everyone's wintertime lists, and for good reason. It's a beautiful, pleasant, even compliment pulling fragrance during the short duration that it lasts. I get about 6 hours, but the projection is only about 30 minutes. So you have to come into close contact to have others benefit from your scent profile here. But this is Burberry's London, and holiday parties, Thanksgiving and Christmas family dinners are a perfect time to wear this one, so being in close quarters shouldn't be any issue. And this one is a really nice, you've got like a port wine accord that kind of adds a sweet quality in a unique fashion, as well as a heavy dose of tobacco and cinnamon, so it captures that festive vibe very well with a little bit of fun quality. But the cool thing about this fragrance is that it wears rather fresh and light. Even though it has those dark, dense, festive notes in here, it performs in a way that is almost like a freshie. So really awesome fragrance, and it's perfect for this sweater weather, as the marketing so elegantly executed on. Okay, next we have one of my favorite lines is the Guerlain L'Homme Ideal line. This is L'Homme Ideal Extreme. Haven't tried the more recent formulations with the all silver plaque on here, but this one is an absolute stunning composition of plum, tobacco, and cinnamon with that signature creamy almond vibe going on. Great performance, projection, and sillage on this entire line, at least from these original formulations that I've gotten. The only one that I've gotten in the newest formulations is the L'Intense, and I love that fragrance also. So this one's definitely one worth checking out, and if you can find the old labeled ones, I don't think they're that much more expensive on places like eBay. But yeah, this is just such an addicting smell. I think one that if you're looking to get attention during the December holiday season, this is one of the ones to go for sure. L'Homme Ideal Extreme. Okay, another one somewhat in the same vein as Chanel's Egoiste. This one's a little bit more heavy on the powdery vanillic qualities, but it's in that same vein of mature, gentlemanly, spicy chai tea vibe. This is Jaipur Homme from Boucheron. This is the Oud Twet. I feel as if the spices have a little bit more texture to them in the Oud Twet than in the Eau de Parfum, which is a little bit more creamy. This has a nice, rugged, almost tingly sensation from the way that the cinnamon is done in here, and I think that lends itself a little bit better to combating the cold, and also it has a little bit more of dimensionality with the way that the citruses perform in this one. But absolutely stunning composition from Monique Menardo, and one of the best cheap fragrances for the December holiday season. That's Jaipur Homme Eau de Toilette. Okay, next we have one that is very silky smooth. The vanilla in here has an almost candy floss style textural feel that could only be done by high quality ingredients, and the rest of the composition presents itself in a very cola-like, Coca-Cola style scent profile, so you get a very silky, powdery Coca-Cola. This is Roa Enigma Parfum Cologne. Also goes by the name of Creation E, depending on where you pick it up at. But like I said, very high quality ingredients. You also get a really kind of thick sensation from a well done jasmine in here also. And like I said, if you're looking for a sophisticated, upscale, powdery, silky, elegant Coca-Cola vibe, which I think is a perfect scent profile for the month of December, check out Roa's Enigma Parfum Cologne. Haven't tried the new Mancera Tonka Cola yet either, but that's one I'm definitely hoping to get my hands on for next December. But that one likely would have made the list had I been able to get my nose on it. So maybe check that one out if the cola scent profile is in your wheelhouse also. Okay, next, another boozy cinnamon fragrance, but this one is a barbershop style fragrance. Sadly discontinued, so don't pay more than $100 for 100 ml, but if it pops up on a Facebook group or eBay or Mercari, definitely pull the trigger if you're a collector at least. I don't want to incentivize you to do blind buyings, but this one is one of my favorites and going to be heavy in my rotation for December's to come. This is Azzaro Pour Homme Intense, and like I said, I think the note breakdown is a little bit simplistic. It doesn't give you everything on Fragrantica and Parfumo. I think it only lists whiskey, vetiver, tonka, and cinnamon, but you definitely get a little bit more going on in here, probably some lavender to compensate for that nice barbershop style appeal. It is a little bit synthetic, but it's not something that you really pick up on in the air. It's only off of like the atomizer and the initial spray. You can kind of sense a little bit of a syrupy texture that I would associate with being slightly synthetic, but it's not off-putting at all. It's a beautiful, beautiful wearing experience. I absolutely love wearing this one. Barbershop is my favorite genre, so this one I'm super glad that it exists for the holiday season. That's Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. Okay, moving on here. Next, we have One of my all-time favorites in my collection, point blank period. I'm probably going to try and hunt down a vintage bottle if it comes up for a good price, as I hear those ones are a little bit more potent, but this is Serge Lutens Shi. The main notes I get in here are tobacco, honey, and hay, as well as a beautiful iris that lends a powdery textural feel alongside of this down-to-earth quality that the hay accord brings to the table. Almost scratchy as well, so you get a scratchy, powdery texture and then a beautiful tobacco honey sweetness. Very dark, bit melancholic, perfect for transitioning from the fall into the winter time. Not necessarily all that festive, but it does smell very much like maybe a Christmas candle. It's got a certain quality to it that is like, there's no cinnamon or nutmeg or festive in that sense, but it does bring to mind the sweet aroma and the warmth that the holiday tends to bring in terms of its emotional appeal, I feel. So that's Serge Lutens Shi, a masterpiece in my opinion. Okay, next, this one is my placeholder for the Spice Bomb DNA. Cremo Spice and Black Vanilla is also an option here, as is Spice Bomb Extreme and the original Eau de Toilette, but this is my preferred version of that scent profile. This is Bvlgari Man in black. It darkens it up a little bit, adds a nice boozy quality, and it wears a little bit lighter. It's not so bubblegum sweet as is the other Spice Bombs that are out on the market, or that scent profile. So this one, I believe, was perfumed by Alberto Marias and just does a great job of darkening and embodying that bubblegum sweet spicy quality of the Spice Bomb DNA into a little bit more of a mature masculine frame. If you know, you know. This one is excellent. Used to be going for a lot cheaper. For some reason, this line of Bvlgari fragrances has like doubled in price recently, so don't pay more than 100 for 100 ml, but beautiful, beautiful stuff for December. That's Bvlgari Man in black. Okay, another tobacco honey fragrance. This one is probably the most popular, or one of the most popular ones. Owning this fragrance is putting me off from picking up the new Malt Elixir, although that's another one that I'm sure could have been included in this list. Haven't got my nose on that one yet. Let me know in the comment section down below if it is similar to this fragrance, but my go-to tobacco honey, or one of my go-to tobacco honeys alongside Shi, is this one right here, Xerjoff Naxos. So this one is a little bit simplistic and has a doughy-esque texture, as do most of the Xerjoffs, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of this house, although I do appreciate them for having high-quality ingredients and appealing to the masses in a very elegant way. The thing that really sold me on this one, however, Naxos, is the lavender in here. One of the best lavenders in my collection. It just has this a little bit more mature, upscale elegance to it. The textural quality of the aromatic green accent of the lavender in here is just so well done that it really just drove it home for me. I love wearing this one. It's super easy to wear, a little bit simplistic in terms of not much of a transition between top, mid to dry down, but easy on the people around me, and you get huge scent cloud and sillage going on throughout the very long wearing experience. So that's Xerjoff Naxos, one of my top picks for the month of December. Okay, next we have another fragrance that features the note of chestnut, which is probably alongside of the boozy tobacco ambery qualities and the cinnamon that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The nutty quality in this one and By the Fireplace also really drive home the December spirit for me, and iris is one of my favorite notes in fragrance, point blank period, so I had to go with this boozy take on an iris fragrance, Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Prive. So it hits on so many notes, the boozy quality as well as the chestnut vibe going on. Perhaps needing no introduction, this one's already very popular in the community, and like I said, it just wears like a Dior Homme Intense or that genre of fragrance style, but it brings that chestnut, which is almost creamy in a nut buttery style way, I want to say. It gives it a creamy, nutty textural feel. And then the booze is very light. I want to say it's not overtly boozy like something like Bentley for Men, but it is there, and it adds a certain unique sweetness that otherwise would, had it been missing, I think, take away from the uniqueness of this fragrance and make it too similar to some of the other irises on the market. But this one is my top iris pick for the month of December. Shergy's got iris in there, but I wouldn't say that it's one of the main notes that is being displayed as much as is in the Givenchy Gentleman. Okay, next we'll go with this one right here. Very easy to wear, light amber fragrance. This is something that I would wear on perhaps like a sunny day in December. It wears a little bit light and is simplistic, but it's very well done. It's got almost like a gummy textural feel, like a gum resin from a tree, or something that you would use to make chewing gum out of a tree, that kind of thing, maybe like an eraser. This is MFK's Grand Soir, Mason Francis Kirkjohn, or Francis Kirkjohn's house. This is, like I said, just a very simplistic kind of bright amber. Wears not much of a dimensionality to it again, but it does have a high quality, upscale, elegant appeal to it. Easily something that I think is unisex as well, so if you pick this up and don't care for it, you could easily gift it to a mother or a wife or a girlfriend. And it's somewhat of a newer addition to the collection. Not much of a dent. I've only worn it to bed. I've worn it as a scent of the day once and to bed about 3 or 4 times now, but it's just something that I really appreciate in the same way that I appreciate Chanel Egoiste. They're just very easy to wear, something you could get away with in the office because they're not so overpowering in the same way that something like, say, this Guerlain L'Homme or a Naxos would be. So yeah, easily a wintertime or December specific signature scent worthy fragrance. That's MFK's Grand Soir. Now, moving in the direction of ambers, this is perhaps my favorite amber in my entire collection. Again, discontinued, hard to find, wouldn't pay more than, I want to say this one is probably worth more than some of the others. I wouldn't pay more than $150 for 100 ml of this, but it is awesome. Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful amber surrounded with a nice, almost smoky style leather that really kind of adds a rugged quality to a note that's otherwise very unisex. This is L'Odyssée pour Homme Noire Ambre. And like I said, just a very beautiful amber surrounded by a masculine frame from a smoky leather. This one cuts through the cold like no other in terms of, like, it has that cut through the cold quality that you would get from a more leather dominant fragrance like ombre leather, but it has that sweetness that you would be looking for in the winter time as well. As such a seductive fragrance, I think is a good way to describe this one. Perfect fragrance for maybe not a date night after you're already with a girl, but if you're going out to like a bar or some event where you're going to be trying to engage with the opposite sex, I think this one is a perfect seductive fragrance for the December season. So that's another hidden gem, or not so much hidden gem, but a rare gem worth keeping an eye out for at places like Mercari and eBay. That's L'Odyssée pour Homme Noire Ambre. Okay, let's see, we have 5 left. This one is another new addition to the collection, one of my only new pickups from the new releases of 2023, but absolutely adore this one. This one is a very nice resinous root beer. You get a little bit of like a sparkly sensation from the resins that are in here, so it kind of accents that root beer fizzy quality, but then they also add a really beautiful smoky woody aspect to it, and then a nice sweet, almost chocolatey powdery quality from a dominant patchouli. This is perfumed by Annick Monardo, or one of the perfumers who worked on it was Annick Monardo. This is Boss Bottled Elixir. Again, another one that I've really only worn, maybe, I actually don't know if I've worn it for my scent of the day, but I've come home and worn it almost every night since picking it up, and it's just such a enjoyable but masculine and complex fragrance. There's a lot of depth to it, and also just, I don't know if there's that much mass appeal, but I would imagine there might be. It's got that root beer cola vibe with enough sweetness that I think others might like it, but you have to have the right personality to pull it off, I think. A little bit more mature, a little bit more grown up, but one of my favorite pickups of 2023, and I haven't tried many of the new releases, but I can't imagine that anything would wow me much more than this one, from the designer realm at least. So that is Boss Bottled Elixir. Definitely worth trying to get out to a Sephora or a Ulta and get your nose on this one, because it is such a beauty. Perfect for December. Okay, last discontinued one that I would not pay more than $100 for 100 ml for a full bottle. Sometimes they will show up at places like Aura Fragrance still for that price. I saw one just this summer of 2023 on Aura Fragrance. I didn't pick it up because I literally had the emotional reaction to seeing it on there that I want someone else to have this because I already had a bottle. I somewhat regret that decision because I do want to refill this as I'm almost half out, but this is Thierry Mugler's Pure Malt. The entire line of this has been discontinued sadly, but this is a very nice malty, fruity fragrance. So the boozy quality in here is not overtly boozy like it is in Bentley for Men or some of the other fragrances mentioned so far, but it does have a nice malty textural feel, almost like caramelized in a nice fresh fruity frame. So it's just got like a it's hard to describe even what kind of fruits it would be. It would just be like a fruit salad with a caramelized malt drizzled over the top of it. Just there's a reason why this has got a cult following. It's got a really good projection, decent longevity, and another one that I've got a few scent memories tied to as it was one of my earliest additions in my collection. So definitely keep an eye out for this one on the Facebook groups and places like that. Don't overpay, but worth hunting down, I would say. Okay, another heavy boozy fragrance. This one does emphasize and amplify that note very well, and again runs in the vein of barbershop fragrances, my favorite genre. This is Pasha de Cartier Parfum. As you can see, pretty good dent level in here, so I've gotten quite a good amount of wearings. Half of the dent, though, I attribute to it having a very poor atomizer. The way it goes on, it reminds me of like a camel spitting at you, so it just hits in a very narrow shot, so I do tend to overspray with this one. Probably don't need to, as it's incredibly potent, and the main players in here that I get are the boozy notes. There's a fir balsam note that really puts me in a transportative frame of mind with respect to Christmas trees and pine forest, and then a really nice synthetic molecule, I think Ambroside is the name of it, that gives a amber style sweetness, like a benzoin style sweetness, but it really pushes out like an ambroxan would, so it's got a really good sillage, and people are going to definitely be able to smell you with this one. I would love wearing this one to like a holiday party or some type of event, like a New Year's party also. I think this one's going to be great for, because it has that dressed up elegance and mature vibe while also being fun and boozy and sweet. So Pasha de Cartier Parfum, one of my top picks for December. Okay, last two. We have Givenchy Pi, perfumed by Alberto Marias. This one is, again, a almond vanillic style sweet fragrance, so it could be unisex. I know a lot of ladies that love this one, but it has a good dose of herbal notes like tarragon, I think rosemary, that add a somewhat green vibe over the top of it that also reminds me and is a transportative vibe towards Christmas trees, even though it's not a coniferous note per se. It reminds me of coniferous scent profiles, almost like maybe one of those Christmas candles, like an imitation coniferous note, but wears very, very easily, a little bit of a powdery texture, also mass appealing and well received by the general public, as it does run into that line between fresh and sweet. It's got a little bit more of a fresh vibe going on from those herbal notes that makes this a good wearing experience. A little bit linear, sadly, also, but it's a cheapie, so you can get a 100 ml tester at least, I've seen, for under $40 across the board at most discounters. So definitely one of my favorites in that price bracket for this month. So Givenchy Pi, one of my top picks for December. And last but not least, one of my favorites from my absolute favorite designer brand. This is Fahrenheit Les Parfums from Dior. Luckily, this one used to be a little bit harder to find. I think it is a European exclusive, but it has been showing up at the U.S. discounters like Joma Shop, Fragrance Net, and Aura Fragrance a lot more readily available as of late. And this one also brings to the table a nice boozy accord over the top of black licorice, vanilla, and violet leaves. So the violet leaves in here makes this one of my favorites to wear during a cold, frigid rain, like that ice cold rain that it's right on the precipice of being snow, but it's kind of more slush. The violet in here adds an ozonic wet quality to this fragrance that I think harmonizes with that environment very well. And then the black licorice vanilla adds a sweet element that almost warms you up alongside of that very cold environment that happens in that transitional period between the fall and the winter. So this is definitely one of my top picks for the month of December. Would have made my top 10 if I ranked this overall list. So those are my 20 picks from my collection. Let me know in the comment section down below what from your collections that I missed out on this one, and maybe I should look to be picking up for 2024. And as always, I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end of the video. Have a happy holidays, everyone. I'll see you in the next. Take care.